following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Let me just say, after viewing distorting the belt, they're proclaiming the real world champion. I'm going to tell you all, with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life. When you walk around this world and you tell everybody you're number one, the only way you get to stay number one is to be number one.
Woo! Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network, powered up by the Belly Up Sports Network of podcasts. Sit back and enjoy as we bring you the latest and greatest in the world of sports, everything from the Detroit Lions to the state of Michigan sports to around the country and around the world. So what are you waiting for? Let's get out there and let's watch the latest edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. And welcome in, everybody, to another edition indeed of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And, of course, we are powered up by the Belly Up Network of podcasts, bellyupsports.com. Check us out. We've got the best in all the sports writers of all the major sports: football, basketball, hockey, World Cup, baseball, you name it, golf, all the sports, pro wrestling. We've got it all right here at Belly Up Sports. And again, our podcast is sponsored or I should say is powered up by Belly Up Sports and Belly Up Media. Hey, we got a lot to talk about tonight, including our Detroit Lions as they're on a roll, baby. 6-7 on the year, 5 out of the last 6. Who would have thought after that 1-6 start that the Lions would be in the conversation of a playoff berth? They are this close. Big win over Minnesota at home, avenging a loss that still stuck in the craw of a lot of people, including yours truly, that lost in Minnesota where they blew that 10-point lead. And they lost that one 27-24, I think it was, on the last second field goal in Minnesota, week number 3. But there was no doubt this time. They hung with Minnesota. They made the big defensive plays. They made the great plays, the fake punt, the pass to Penei Sewell on third down. I'm telling you, you name it. It was a big win for the Lions. 6-7, kind of right on the periphery of that playoff hunt for that 7th and final playoff spot. Probably are going to have to win out. I go back to the tie between Washington and New York. That, I think, in the long run could hurt the Lions in playoffs. What I mean by that is they're going to have to win out to get to 10-7 just to ensure that, because I think the big bummer of all of it is losing the way they did to Seattle earlier in the year when they had them beat. That could come back to haunt Detroit. We'll go through the playoff scenarios in both the AFC and the NFC for the teams that are vying for that last playoff, the 6th and 7th seeds, if you will, in the AFC and the NFC, as I said. Hey, drop us a note throughout the broadcast. You can comment live here. We're on the Captain Lou Network, Sports Network on YouTube. Subscribe to our show. We're getting them up slowly but surely, our subscribers. When we get to 50, that's when we'll have our first giveaway. Stay tuned for that. We're getting there. We're a work in progress, but we're going to get there. But in the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Real Captain Lou, or follow us on Facebook, the Captain Lou Extravaganza, or follow me at Lewis Gamlin, or drop me an email at sweetlou1965@yahoo.com. So we mentioned it. The Lions continued the roll with that win over Minnesota. They won by 11, so it kind of bumped me on my teaser parlay, and I want to apologize right from the get-go because I thought, I had said that both the Lions teaser parlay and the parlay itself were winners. Well, if you took my money line or my regular line parlay, if you will, Lions minus 2.5 plus or over 52.5, you were a winner. But if you took the parlay, the teaser parlay, the Vikings plus 8.5, well, that Badgley field goal with 2 minutes or under 2 minutes or under a minute to go put the Lions up 11. I think it was 35-24 or something like that. That kind of bumped us on our teaser parlay, but 1 out of 2 isn't bad. The teaser lock of the week was victorious. Of course, that was Buffalo plus 8.5 or minus, and I think minus 9.5 and under 50. That was easy. And they won 20-9. So 2 out of 3 last week. We are 8-4 on line bets this year. And that teaser lock, that was the first one we did, was last week. We'll give you all of that. I'll give you my teaser lock of the week as well as the breakdown of the Lions here shortly. So kind of a abbreviated show tonight. Had some work duties with other meetings here earlier tonight. That's why we're on to 7:30 until about 8 o'clock tonight. We'll be back for a full hour next week as we will possibly get another special guest to get back on. We'll talk some football. But we're going to talk Lions. We're going to talk Jets. Both teams need this game very, very badly. As I'm sure all of you know, the Lions come in with a record of 6-7, as I mentioned. What concerns me a little bit about this game tonight, of course, or tonight, Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock, is the Jets defense and the consistency of DeAndre Swift. Now, for those of you that watched last week, I had Swift going over 32.5 yards. And I kind of hemmed and hawed on that, putting some money on it. And I'm glad I didn't. He had 6 carries for 21 yards. I'm a little worried about DeAndre Swift, especially going up against this defense on Sunday. The Jets, top half of the league in defense. I think they're ranked 6th in points allowed at just under 18.5. I'm not too worried about the Lions giving up points. Their defense really is playing better. No Breece Hall. I think the running game is a little bit suspect for the Jets. And who knows what they're going to have at quarterback. Mike White, he says he's a go. He played well a couple of weeks ago, and he just got the crap beat out of him last week in that game against Baltimore. And they almost still won that game. Or I beg your pardon, in their game last week. I mean, he got beat from pillar to post. But now the Jets stand at 7-6, I believe. This is a big game for them. It's on the road, obviously, at the Meadowlands. And right now, or as of 5:30 or 5 o'clock this afternoon, depending on where you look, I went with DraftKings. This is the current line. They're +1 at New York. Some folks have them at -1. I think ESPN, they're pick'em, a literal pick'em matchup. And again, it goes back to the Lions. December, it's going to be what? December 19th or 18th when they play. And Detroit is a road, pretty much pick'em team. Relevant. It's been a long time. 2016 since we've been able to say that. So it's been 6 years. But they got an opportunity to do it. They need a little more out of Swift. Jameson Williams, let's talk about him. What a first grab for a touchdown, 42 yards. Boy, that guy just another weapon for the Lions. Now, I know they're not going to use him, as their number one go-to guy against the Jets. They might ease him in a little bit more, get a couple of more targets. But when you got Jamal Williams running it in short yardage and Jared Goff, wow. Again, we go back 330 yards passing. Now, I know that Kirk Cousins had 425, but a lot of that was in catch-up mode because Detroit had established the lead that they didn't relinquish really in the second half. But, man, oh, man, the Lions' offense is clicking right now. This is going to be a big test. The Jets, they may not have the weapons on offense, but their defense does scare me in that one. So I got, again, the Lions currently at +1, under 4, and the over-unders at 44.5. If you look at what the Sharps are betting in this game, they're leaning towards Detroit, 69%. And Detroit, in their last 6, obviously, they've won 5 of them. And the loss was a 3-point loss to Buffalo. They're 6-0 against the spread. The spread was 3.5. So the Lions are, if you're going that way, if you think they can make it 7 in a row, then you take the Lions with the points or pick them or whatever. But the odds that we'll come up with shortly to kind of let you know where they're at, is, it might be worth putting a sawbuck down on. It was for me this past weekend. It won some good money. So the Lions are a good bet right now. I'm not trying to put the Maloik on them. I'm knocking on wood, whatever you want to call it. But, it really is. It's a pretty solid bet, if you ask me. So we'll take a peek at it. Now, we talked about the Lions and their playoff chances. Now, I know they got a long ways to go. And a lot of my friends that are Packer fans and Bears fans and whatever, they kind of chuckle. Say, yeah, only a Lion fan would root for them when they're 6-7, think they got a playoff spot. Well, take a look at what the Lions got remaining. Can they run the table? I know they got the Jets on the road. It's an awful lot to ask to go to New York and win 2 games because they pummeled the Giants. And I don't think I'm not afraid of the Jets offense. What I'm afraid of is the Jets defense. But after this week, they win this week. They get to 7-7. Then they go to Carolina. Now, on paper right now, it looks like Detroit might be a favorite. Sam Darnold's playing okay. And believe it or not, Carolina is only 1 game out of first place in that rancid NFC South. So all of a sudden on Christmas Eve, that might be a little more difficult than we think. But that's a very winnable game for Detroit. They win that, they're 8-7. After 1-6 start. Wow. Again, it's crazy. Then they come home New Year's Day for their home finale against the Chicago Bears. That's a winnable game. Chicago's in a mess right now. They may not be able to contain Justin Fields, and who knows, he may not be playing by then. So that sets up the finale against Green Bay. Detroit 9-7 going into that game on January 8th. As far-fetched as this may seem, Green Bay right now, I believe, is 5-8. And I'd have to look at their schedule. I might be able to bring it up here, see if I can real quick. But I know Green Bay plays Monday night against the Rams. So let me just take a quick peek here. If I can bring up the Packers on my handy-dandy computer. Green Bay's got the Rams on Monday night. They'll win that one because Baker Mayfield's going to start, but the Rams are so shot right now. Then they got the Dolphins on the road. That's going to be a tough one. Then they got the Vikings at home. Detroit's got the tiebreak. The more I think about Green Bay, for a minute there, I was going to think, well, maybe they might come into that game 9-8 as well. No way. Green Bay's best bet would probably be 7-9. They'll be out of it. Is it realistic to think that the Lions could have a shot at going 10-7? How realistic do you think it is? I know the playoff prognosticators are now saying that the Lions are a 21% possibility of making it. But again, we talked about a little bit earlier. The biggest Achilles heel for the Lions right now is they've got to finish ahead of Seattle because they lose the tiebreak scenario to the Seahawks. Now, the Giants and the Redskins or Commanders are both 7-5-1. So if Detroit can go 10-7, obviously, then they would need the Giants and the Commanders to lose too. Now, one of them is going to lose this week unless they tie again. My feeling is it's probably going to be the Giants. So they'll be 7-6-1. But it gets tough for both of those teams as well. I think the Giants have to play Dallas one more time. I think they got to play Philly twice, if I'm not mistaken. So the road's pretty tough. I know Washington's got Dallas in that finale. So there are some obstacles for those teams. It's not that far-fetched, I'm telling you. Let's take a look at the playoff picture for the last seeds. And let's take a look first on the bottom of the screen in the NFC. Washington right now sits at that 6th spot, 7-5-1. The Giants, 7-5-1. Seattle is 7-6. Detroit is 6-7. As we mentioned, Detroit owns the tiebreak over the Giants and Washington by virtue of head-to-head. But if Detroit goes 9-8, that means all the Giants or the Reds or the Commanders would have to do would be to go 9-7-1. They'd have to go 2-2 over that span. So that's an advantage for them. the Lions realistically, I'm saying they're going to have to run the table. I don't know if Seattle's going to be able to do that. They've got a couple of tough games. They got a couple of patsies, but if they lose 2 more, they would be 9-8. So it's possible. But Seattle owns that big tie break against the Detroit Lions with that win at Detroit. So obviously Detroit's got to run the table, in my opinion, get to 10-7. They do that, they're in. They will ease their way in. And who knows? They could end up being a 6 seed playing a 3 seed in the opening round of the playoffs, which would be Minnesota or San Francisco. We all know what happened the last time Detroit played a playoff game in San Francisco. Thank you, Eddie Murray. Thank you, Monty Clark. That's something to look for down the road. Or who knows? It's probably going to be Dallas in that 5th seed with, who knows, an 11-6 record. They have the tiebreak over the Lions too. So they would get to go to the losing record winning division winner of that NFC South, which would probably be Tampa Bay, or who knows, it could be Atlanta and Desmond Ridder for all we know. Don't count them out yet. So fun to look at in the last 4 weeks of the year. Who would have thought, like I said, keep saying it, but who would have thought the Lions would be there? Indeed. In the AFC, right now, Miami's in the 6th seed at 8-6, New England at 7-6. Or I've checked that Miami is 7-6. My bad. Los Angeles Chargers are 7-6. They own the tiebreak over the Jets now at 7-6. New England owns all the tiebreakers for that last spot. So this is an important game for the New York Jets. They need it to keep pace. Well, a lot of people I've listened to are already saying, well, that this could be one of the easy games for the Jets. I don't know of anybody that wants to play the Lions right now. The Lions, here's my question with the Lions, and I brought this up with a lot of people that, the Lions are used to winning. There's 2 ways to look at it for the Lions, in my opinion. Either they're not smart enough to know better and they keep on winning, or they might fold under the pressure. They're not used to being in this position. Nobody on this team is used to being in this position. I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't really think there is anybody that's used to being in it. So, who knows? But before we get into our teaser bets and our lock bets and everything else, I want to take a minute, if I could, to Red Wings fans, I know throughout the year, or out the years rather, getting us our first, as a fan, our first Stanley Cup that we got to cheer for in our lifetime, at least mine. First one since, 1955. So if you get a chance, check it out again. That's drop Alan from sportsgraphing.com an email, alan@sportsgraphing.com. He'll send you the link. You can go right to the website and get yourself a great deal on some great jerseys. And again, it's for a great cause. If you have any other questions on that, you can drop me an email at sweetlou1965@yahoo.com, or drop me a note on Twitter at Real Captain Lou. Follow me there, or the Captain Lou Extravaganza on Facebook, or myself, Louis Gamlin. It's that easy. Very approachable. Answer every emails. I always do. So again, we are live on the Captain Lou Sports Network page on YouTube. We invite you to subscribe to that. We're inching our way up there with subscribers. When we get to 50, got a great prize just waiting for you. And I'll talk more about that as we get closer to that 50th mark right there. So subscribe to us. We've got all my podcasts on there. My other podcast that I do with the American Collegiate Hockey Association, the ACHA Power Play. We had a great show last night. Matt, the head coach of Villanova's women's, Matt Fabrizio from Villanova's ACHA women's D2 team, ranked amongst the top teams in the country. He stopped by. A very fun conversation with him. We'll have another one of those shows again. Our last one of 2022 will be next Tuesday at 7 o'clock as well. So check us out on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And of course, as always, we are powered up by the Belly Up network of podcasts, bellyupsports.com. Check out our lineup of all of our podcasts that we've got. We've got a great array of podcasters talking about anything and everything. Fantasy sports, all the major sports, some of the sports that aren't major sports, pro wrestling, you name it, MMA, we've got it covered. Sports, car racing, everything. Check out our list of podcasts at bellyupsports.com. All right, we're going to wrap things up here a little bit. We talked about the scenarios for the playoffs. We talked about what the Lions need to do. We talked about if they can run the table. But first, before they do that, they have got to they've got to get past New York. That means it's time to give you our picks. The Lions, as I mentioned, they come in a 1-point dog, depending on DraftKings. That could change. I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to give you my bet. I'm rolling with them. Just going to keep on with the roll. The Lions are 6-0 in their last 6 against the spread. So here's the parlay. You take the Lions +1 and over 44.5. That's what I'm going to do. It's +245. Now, but that's the parlay with that. You think a point to point, right? If you take the Lions, the only way you're not going to win on that is if they tie. Or, if you're thinking about going money line. If you're going money line with the same over, it's bumped up 25. So if you bet $100, you're going to get 270. That's the way that I'm going. I'm going to go with the Lions money line and over 44.5. I think they could put enough points up, and I think the Jets will be able to put a few points up on the Lions too. I'm going to say it's going to be like a 28-24 game, or even 24-21. That's 45. That's over. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to take +270. Now, the Lions game teaser parlay, 6-point teaser. I'm going to go with the Lions +7.5, but I'm going to go under 50.5 on this one. It's -110. Pretty safe, I think. So if you get that, and it's you bet $100, you get 90 back on top of the 100. I think it's still going to be a 24-21 game. That's why I was a little apprehensive with going over 44.5. I think it's going to be right around there, 24-23, somewhere around there. It's going to be a close game. Under 50.5, I'm a little bit leery of too. I think it could even go to 28-24. That's the case, I lose. But I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go with the Lions +7.5 and under 50.5, it'll be minus 110. Now, some of the other big games, we're going to take a look at some of the big games real quick before I give you my locks of the week and other games this weekend. Just kind of taking a look at the schedule. You got some big ones on Saturday night. Of course, you got the Bills hosting the Dolphins. We don't know what the weather's going to be like there for that one. They're saying they could get a bunch of snow Saturday night. Could be a low-scoring game. The over-under is 42. The Bills are minus 7.5. That's a lot of points. If I was a betting man on that one, I would probably take the Dolphins getting 7.5. But I'm going to wait right up until game time to see what the weather's like. If it's snowing to beat all hell, obviously I'm going to just bet the under. The Ravens and the Browns, this is going to be a sneaky good game. The Browns are a 3-point favorite. Watson played a little bit better last week. The Ravens, we don't know what they're going to be. We don't know who's going to be the quarterback. We know it's not going to be probably not Lamar Jackson. So they're going to go with their third-string quarterback. I like Cleveland minus 3 in this one too. And then the opening game, the Colts and the Vikings, Minnesota minus 4. No doubt in that one. Some of the big games on Sunday, really, I looked through the slate. There really aren't that many great games. The best one might be the night game, the Giants and the Commanders, both 7-5-1. Big game. Washington, a 4.5-point favorite in this one at home. I tend to lean that way too. I tend to think the Commanders are going to win this one. Little leery on the over-under on that one. And the Monday game's a dud. Packers 5-8, Rams 4-9. Ugh, I won't be staying up to watch that one. I don't even think I'm going to have any fantasy players in that one as I look to try to wrap up a playoff spot in my fantasy league. So really only one big game. I look at some of the slate on Sunday beside the Lions game. That's probably the best game besides the primetime game with, maybe the Raiders and Patriots, but the Raiders, no, sorry, can't call that a big game. The Raiders smell right now. They can't, they lose how many game double-digit leads? They should be 8-5 instead of 5-8. That could be a scary proposition for the Patriots. Right now, that's a pick'em game even. We'll see. Saints and Falcons, no. Panthers and Steelers, no. Jags and Cowboys, not really. Texans and Chiefs. The Chiefs should win that one. I don't think 14 points is a lot, but they'll win that one. So really, I don't know. I don't know what to think. So anyway, my teaser lock of the week and my lock of the week, it's going to be the first game of the weekend. Lock of the week, the Vikings minus 4 at home, coming off a loss to Detroit. They want to hold on to that number 2 seed. They're going to win this one in a big way. They're going to win this one huge. And I think it's going to be minus 4 for minus 110. Yeah, take it. My teaser lock of the week, I'm sticking with that game. You get 6 points, right? Take the Vikings plus 2.5 and over 42.5 for plus 115. That's a huge, huge teaser lock right there. That is my teaser lock of the week. Vikings plus 2.5 over 42.5 plus 115. Take that one to the bank. I think it's going to be like a 38-10 game. That's 48 points right there. I think it's going to be maybe 31-17, something like that. Yeah, it could be a blowout. That's my lock of the week right there. Teaser lock. Teaser parlay lock. Vikings plus 2.5 and over 42.5. Well, all right, that's going to do it for tonight. Go Lions as they try to maintain that roll they're on, get to 7-7, and really make things very interesting in the NFC for that wild card chase. They've got some teams to climb over. Essentially, the Seahawks. They've got the tie breaks over the Commanders and the Giants, but that tie really throws a monkey wrench in it. But who knows? This is now a playoff game in a sense for the Lions. In my opinion, they got to win them all to get to 10-7 to get that playoff berth. So I want to thank you for joining us here tonight. As always, without you, this isn't possible. So I want to thank you. Good luck with your bets this week. keep rolling with the Lions. I'm telling you, take that teaser lock with the Vikings against the Colts. You're going to make some good money with that. I got a feeling. All right, this reminder, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Until next week, enjoy the games, be safe, get that Christmas shopping done too, by the way. You've only got about, 10 days until the fat man with the big white beard, I'm not talking about me, that big fat man with the red jacket and the big white beard comes to visit your house. Make sure you're prepared for him and also get your presents done as well. All right, everybody, a lot of fun games this weekend on Saturday, and enjoy. Well, until next week, so long, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. So long.